And welcome back to round 3 of the Exeter Store Championships, held on the 24th of January 2015. Once more myself there on the left sporting Chaos Theory, and Dave Hoyland on the right there playing Replicating Perfection. So, just before we get into the games, just a quick reminder folks, obviously we have a rather spiffy website that you're more than welcome to go and look at. We have obviously forums and articles and such, as I mentioned on the videos. We also have a Twitter stream over at Netrunners.co.uk. Obviously all one word there, so do feel free to have a poke at me whinging and moaning about various different things, and do go ahead and follow and subscribe to us there as well. In the meantime, we're bringing you more coverage of this Exeter Store Championships. This will probably be the last game that I cover from the Swiss. I'll go on to do the top 4 because I also have coverage of the Worcester Store Championships, which I would like to quite put up in the not too distant future before it becomes completely invalid and irrelevant by the fact that Order and Chaos is out, because Order and Chaos wasn't obviously legal for this event or for the event in Worcester. So this is not my favourite matchup. Chaos Theory struggles hard against this deck. I know exactly what it is. It is Grail RP, and this was a very, very common deck there at the Exeter Store Championships. This is Dave's Crusade deck. And like I say, it's done very, very well. Order and Chaos has probably shifted things ever so slightly with the cutlery and the ice destruction and so forth, but at this point in time, this deck was the deck to beat in my eyes. And the problem with Chaos Theory is that she is incredibly click intensive, because as you probably have already seen from previous casts, she requires that early doors Magnum Opus, and Magnum Opus is not click friendly. It's a bad card when you're playing against RP Grail, and yet you haven't got a huge amount of choice other than to do what I'm doing here, which is to kind of burn 2 turns getting out that Magnum Opus, at which point you kind of have to let that Sundew sit. And as sad as that is, he's going to be getting an absurd amount of money from it over the long term. You know, he's still sat on 9 credits quite comfortably with the Res Sundew out. He's got everything but Archives iced. This is not a good place for me. My board presence is already fairly weak, just purely down to the time it takes to get that early doors Magnum Opus out. And what's worse now is that I can't run aggressively because I cannot risk the Magnum Opus. So I need either an SMC here or a clone chip to enable me to not get spanked silly by a cheeky Lancelot or a Galahad into Lancelot or a Merlin, whatever it might be. You need the full Breaker Suite out before you can really apply any kind of pressure to this deck. I'm just lucky in the fact that he hasn't seen the early doors Nisei Mark II, otherwise this could become grim rather quickly. I do see an Astrolabe, which will do good work, so I will install that. I'll install the clone chip first. Probably install the Astrolabe next. Yep, that's fine. So suddenly this start isn't too bad. I've got the SMC in the bin to be able to retrieve. I do have a legwork in hand as well, so I can put some pressure on his centrals. He sees the NAPD there. He's got a bit of Grail Ice in hand already. Another Sundew down. He's res the Mental Health Clinic, that's the one. So he's now got 3 recurring credits every turn until I go in and try and deal with them, and his money is already obscene. I can't force him to res any cards, so he's going to hedge fund and place more ice over HQ, so he's in a very, very good position here already. Seeing an imp, so I mean at the very least if I can get in I can possibly take out the Sundew. Mental Health Clinic maybe. He's going to res an Eli on R&D, which is fine because I do have a lady. I'm not sure if going to get it necessarily the right shout, but I will go and do it for the time being because I need to put early pressure here on his centrals. The issue I'm going to have here is if I see an NEPD I'm not going to be able to steal it, and you kind of know it. Lady is brilliant against Eli. It is not brilliant against Galahad, which is again another realization I made during the process of this tournament. Having 3 subs is a real problem because suddenly it takes 2 tokens from Lady to break Galahad, and when the other 2 subroutines are most likely to be Lancelot's trash programs, you have to burn both, and that's not fun for anyone. Oh, it's not especially very fun for the Corp, but it's not fun for me. So Lady, as good a breaker as it is, and I extol its virtues on a lot of different occasions, it is very weak against this matchup, because those Galahads They're a pain, ladies and gentlemen. They are a pain, even with the stupid amount of recursion that you find in Shaper, and particularly in this deck, which is running 3 scavenge and 3 clone ships and so forth, 3 test runs. You don't have a lot of fun, I'm afraid, and not have a lot of fun at all. So I will draw there from the Astrolabe, which is good at the very least. And already here, you can see this position is spiralling out of control. All it's going to take is the scored Nisei here, at which point you may as well just shake his hand and say good game, thank you very much. He will raise another mental health clinic. That is a separate server, he's just stacking them for ease and keeping everything in frame. So that's now 4 reoccurring credits a turn. He's got a lot of agendas in hand, to be fair, but they're all NAPDs and future perfects, and so even then it's not the most attractive legwork target, and that's with me knowing full well what's in his hand. You know, 8 credits to get 4 points. No guarantee. I mean, I could win, technically. I could win with the legwork here, but it's not very likely, and I've got no idea what that ice is there on HQ. And I've got no clone ships, no SMCs, and only 1 breaker. I need a full breaker sweep before I can really apply any central there, in pressure there. All it takes is another 2 pieces. If you're installing a Tsurugi there on R&D, another piece of ice on HQ, and his centrals are well and truly secure. That's a Grim there, looks like he's putting on. I think he's changing his mind now. But that Grim, got an interns there as well, so even if I do get rid of something like a Sunji or a Caprice, which presumably is what is installed there in that remote server, could easily be an Ash, he could just bring it straight on back with interns. This deck is, like I say, the very definition of taxing. Mentally, probably more than anything else. And again, this is not a deck I wanted to play against, because my record against it is incredibly poor. The only time I've taken a win off this deck is where I said, I don't care about anything. I don't care about Magnum Opus. I don't care. I'm just going to run. And I literally ran R&D 3 times and scored 3 agendas, and I think I won the game. And it was the most ridiculous game you will probably ever witness. I didn't record it, but it's the only time I have taken a win against RP. And I think that's very true in the sense that you need to be aggressive early against RP to gain any kind of traction, and Grail Ice prevents you from doing that, and that's what makes it so strong. As soon as it gets that initial agenda scored, suddenly you're looking at a very different situation, and it's not a lot of fun for anyone. So I'm going to install the RDI, I'm going to test run, probably a FEM, could be a FEM, yeah, it's going to be a FEM, which I'm going to put on that, which we already know is a Tsurugi, so that's actually doing me no good whatsoever. He's not going to res it anyway, so I suppose mission accomplished, but I will pay 1 and use a counter to break. I will access Sia Jackson, which I'll trash, and I will see something else, which is not an agenda. Again, he's got a lot in hand already, so he's feeling fairly comfortable there. He's already got 3 out of his 9 agendas in hand. So yeah, he's not going to worry too much. Assuming he's running with standard agenda interface, which I know he is, the agenda mix-up. Going to be running his 3 NAPDs, 3 Future Perfects, and 3 Nisei Mark IIs. And that's pretty much all he's waiting for at this stage. He's got a medical research fundraiser there, which he may use, he may not. He probably doesn't need the money, so he'll probably leave it out of hand for the time being. He's using those instead of the celebrity gifts. And it makes perfect sense when you're running Grail. You don't want your opponent to know what Grail pieces you have in hand, or if indeed you don't have any. Because if you don't have any, suddenly the Grail Ice becomes very, very vulnerable. He's going to trash the Sunju, he's going to install, and advance what I imagine is probably the NAPD there, but obviously sending any runner into a flat panic. At this point you've got to assume that it's the Nisei Mark II, and if that gets scored, well, that's the game. That is the game. It is worse than having an Astro scored against you. He's actually going to install advance, so it could be the Future Perfect. I'm not sure what he put down there. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's the NAPD. I think, yeah. So I'm either thinking, no, well, it's either a Nisei or it's a Future Perfect, in which case he's either going to go to 3 points, and I'm going to cry, or he is going to score an Nisei token, which is probably the end of the game anyway. Especially when you've got this much ice down on the board, that much economy, 2 2 mental health clinics generating cash. He doesn't even need to set up any more remotes at this point, so that Astrolabe's not going to do a great deal of good. I'm going to draw, take back up that Fem, and I'm going to take 6 and pass the turn. Because I can't get in there, there's absolutely no way. I haven't got the breakers to be able to do it. I've only got a lady on the board. If I run and see a Galahad, I'm going to lose programs. Guaranteed. absolutely guaranteed, and you just can't afford to take the risk of losing a magnum opus and a lady at this point in the game, because it would kill me. Thankfully, it is just the NEPD that he scored, and so it's still game on. He's on the 2 points already, and it seemed like a sensible time for him to go and score that agenda. But I mean, technically, he's got enough agendas in hand to win the game now. So he's got. He'd probably be tempted to try and store out the future perfect. He may not bother. He's got a Caprice in hand as well there, and as well as another Sunju. I feel like I've kind of given up on the economy battle here, which I'm not sure was the right call. Looks like he's put the Caprice in R&D, which is a surprise. But I haven't. I saw the imp early doors, and I probably should have put it down and start thinking about using it. Either take out the mental health clinics, or again just to kind of pressure his economy across the board. But I'm going to hard install the Fem. I think I'm going to put it back on top of R&D, which is a mistake in hindsight, obviously. But I wasn't to know that. I thought it was a Kumainu. And he knowing me very well, so again, the Caprice on R&D, exactly the right call. And so I only pay 1 to get past the Eli, at which point we do side game shenanigans. And I'm guessing Dave here is probably just going to spend 0, knowing the board state as I do now. Oh, he didn't, he spent 2. Okay, so I actually guessed 0, which is what I would have bid, even in retrospect. But Dave did the smart thing in bidding 2 and kept me out. He's got a lot of agendas in hand, so I mean he has the hope there that his HQ is secure, because a legwork here could actually cause real problems. I know I've got one, but with only 1 token on Lady now, suddenly Galahad's is a problem. And again, this deck just was not the right call for the meta that I faced. I love the deck. I think it's strong. Its ideal matchup is probably NEH, to be honest, because it can get set up so fast and pressure across the board with legworks and RDIs and so forth. And obviously with the Astrolabe, it makes it even faster. It's a really good matchup for NEH, I find. Very, very solid deck against it. But I didn't see NEH. I didn't see any NEH in this store championship. All I saw were taxing decks. My first round was against RP with Grail. My second round was the Twee deck that I've already posted that had Grail. This game is obviously RP Grail, and my next round was RP with just Excaliburs, so you know, fine. But completely my worst matchups. 3 RP decks across the course of the day. I think I may have mentioned in previous videos that it's just a bad matchup for Chaos Theory of Magnum Opus. Really bad matchup, because it's so click intensive. And yeah, I knew, and the only chance I really had was taking a win off Dave, I think, with the with my Corp deck. Didn't fancy my chances, because I know that this deck is just hideous to play against. And it's just a bad shout. It's just all I have here are bad options, unfortunately. So it looks like I've run archives. I've taken 4 and I'm running the remote. I'm not sure why. I obviously know there's no agenda there. I think I just want to take the Jackson Howard off the board and possibly try and pop off the upgrade that's in there to make it more vulnerable. It's probably not a bad call. He's got buttloads of money, so he is going to res the Galahad, and this is exactly the situation that I'm in. It's interesting, he hasn't got anything in hand, so it's just the one to get through. Again, he knows I'd be able to break it 1 token anyway. I think he has got 1 in hand. And he's going to res a Merlin. And he's going to show another Merlin, so that's 4 net damage. And he didn't show it with the Galahad because he knew that the Lady token would have broken it anyway. And he's ditched those cards there. Sharpshooter and so forth. And I think he's going to debate whether to res. I'm assuming that's an Ash there. So I mean, it hasn't cost me anything to get in, but obviously that lady's gone now already, which is bad. It's just a question of how badly he wants to defend that that Jackson Howard. So it is the Ash, which he reses. It's probably a good time to go in and run that server for no other reason than, like I say, it does force this kind of pressure that he doesn't want to have to make. But in using my lady tokens, I'm not sure if I've made my board state weaker overall. There's a distinct possibility that that's the case. Where I should have been pressuring this whole game, obviously, is HQ, but that's easy to say in hindsight. I think, again, my play against RP improved after this tournament and into the Worcester tournament. I'm going to trash both, leaving him a huge scoring window. Will he take it? Let's see. Certainly the temptation would be just to install double advance and try and take out that the three-pointer. I have to find a way of breaking the Galahad. So I mean, presumably I got to play. If he does do that, I could scavenge the lady, run archives. Although I know I don't have the cards in hand to be able to do that, so I don't think I can. I've only got one card in hand. I would have to draw 3 times. So yeah, I think he's got a huge scoring window here, and I'd be surprised to not see him install advance, because I cannot go in and take it without flatlining myself. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to install advance, and like I say, unless that's a diesel in hand, I think that's probably going to be a score. I'm going to draw first click. I'm going to draw second click, and that's at that point you know you're not going to go in and take it. It's done. It's a done thing. So it was a risk on his part, just in case, again, I did perhaps have a diesel or something in hand, but he knew that wasn't going to happen. I'm going to take 4 credits, I'm going to pass the turn. But yeah, my chances of scoring my agenda were somewhat remote. So even without the NAPD, without the Nisei scored here, he's on 5 points. He doesn't even need the Nisei really now at this stage, because all he needs to do is score out the last agenda and he's done. I think he has ditched the NAPD that he had in hand, which he probably didn't want to do. I think he probably actually wanted to keep it. Looks like he's binning the medical research fundraiser, keeping some ice in hand. He's got more Grail Ice to be able to play with now. He's still got another Future Perfect there in hand, so he could win out with that. But at this stage, I've got the Scavenge now, so I don't think he's going to take that risk. But here's me on a big fat 0 points, and there's Dave on a big fat 5. No Nisei counter, but he's in a very good board position. Still got some decent money on the board. HQ is not too vulnerable. He's only got the 1 agenda in there. He's going to install. That's again, you're always going to assume that now when RP plays a nice out on archives, it's almost certainly an Excalibur, which is just not fun for anyone. And he's going to play out another Sundew while he waits for the last agenda, because I don't think he's going to risk playing in a playing out the Future Perfect at this stage. I've got an SMC in hand, which I'll play, taking me up to my full 6 memory with the Astrolabe on the board, and I'm going to take some money. So I can afford just to sit and wait, but obviously the longer I sit and wait, the more likely it is he sees a Caprice. Obviously he can in-turns back the Ash, and if he in-turns back the Ash, it's probably game over now anyway. Looks like he's checking to see how secure HQ is. It's fine. Oh, I'm running HQ, and in fact see a Grim. Oh no. So unfortunately, with the Sharpshooter in the bin and only an SMC on the board, I've only got a couple of options here. So the bad pub obviously doesn't come into play until the end of the round, but I've always put it on just so I remind myself. I am going to trigger the SMC, and I'm going to get, I think, probably the only use in the whole tournament out of David, which I'll install for 3 credits, which will give me a break. So that's not too bad. 5 credits to break a Grim, plus I could break it another 2 times for free. I get the bad pub along with that, so that's fine. That's not bad. That's not bad. It also obviously has the added bonus of making NAPD a little bit harder for him to score, but still not impossible. I'm going to carry on and see another Galahad. This isn't going to be good. This is going to be bad. So 2 more Merlins, which again will mean I'll end the run and I'll take 4 net damage, which is the rest of my hand. Yeah, that's not good. That is not good. And this is the problem with Lady. Lady is fantastic when you're just kind of running against your Eli's, which is what the meta was before Merlin was released. And suddenly everything's changed quite significantly. Grail Ice is a thing. And again, I'm not sure how Order and Chaos is going to affect it, but even if it weakens it slightly, it's still very strong. The only problem with this deck is it's a bit of a grind. It is a bit of a grind. It's not quite as straightforward and simple as NEH. It's going to take some money, take some more money, pass the turn over. Takes money for his Sundews, I should say. I'm going to diesel. But yeah, I'm in a bad place here. In a bad place. He's just waiting for, I think probably again, an NEPD would be the best card for him to see at this stage. Because he can pretty much guarantee scoring it with an in-turns as well, if he puts the Ash back in the server. And Magnum Oak, it just takes too long. It just takes too long. You'd think it would be great against this kind of a matchup, but it's just awful. I think he did draw into the NEPD there. Don't quote me on that, but I think he's seen it exactly when he needs it. Probably doing the math here. I'm pretty sure he's got a scoring window still. I'm not sure if I have the scavenge in hand or not. Losing it to that Galahad really, really hurt. And you just, again, you can't run without a full breaker suite down, and that's not good. So he will do that, which means I get to draw another card. He's going to trash the Sundew. He's going to install. He's going to advance. And he fancies his luck here at this point. I think it makes sense. At the end of the day, I'm on 0 points, so I will scavenge the lady. But I'm on 0. Even if I score it, that's going to open up a huge window for him then to score the future perfect in hand. So he's in a no-lose situation. If I run Archives here, I'm going to get hit by the Excalibur, and he's going to score and win. If I run R&D, he could res the Sarugi, and I'm going to be in just as bad a place. I'm going to install a zoo. I don't think that's necessarily the best call, but hey, what can you do? So that's second click. Third click, I'm going to run R&D, and I think that's probably the right call. I'm just going to bounce off the Eli, also the right call, and then I'm going to run the remote. I haven't got a choice. So again, I did the smart thing by avoiding Archives, because if I'd seen the Excalibur, it would have been game over. There's another Sarugi. It's going to cost me 4 to get through unless I want to take some net damage. So I've got 1 bad pub, 3. And I'll break. Probably could have taken a little bit of net damage, but I just take it off the Merlin instead. So we got 3 subroutines for the Galahad. I think I'm going to burn both tokens. Again, this is why, again, Lady is not great. So Merlin's going to have the same. It's going to be a triple Merlin. And I'm going to have to pay to break with Zoo, which is stupidly expensive. I'm going to let him do damage to me, 2 damage. And again, I'm assuming that's the NAPD. It is. At which point he scores it and wins the game, and that is all she wrote. So, you know, again, very good play on Dave's part, but just goes to show again, this deck just does not have the strength it needs to be able to get through this kind of click intensive, this kind of taxing setup. You'd think Magnum Opus economy would work, but it's just too slow, and not being able to apply that early pressure with a Magnum Opus on the board is absolutely fatal. So that unfortunately sets me right back in the rankings. I do go on in round 4 to split the next round. I'm not going to upload it, so I don't finish in the top 4, but I will be bringing you top coverage of the top 4 shortly, so join us there.